The mysterious Nazareth Inscription is a marble tablet discovered in Nazareth, bearing an edict attributed to a Roman emperor. The text threatens capital punishment to anyone who disturbs a tomb or removes a corpse from it. Was this in response to the stories about Jesus' resurrection? The issue remains a matter of debate among experts. Is there a link or not? This video will explore the issue and leave you amazed at the findings. Do not forget to subscribe to our channel for more updates on exciting archaeological discoveries that show the Bible is true. The Nazareth Inscription is one of the most important inscriptions from the ancient world. However, it is surrounded with uncertainty because of the way it ended up in scholars' hands. The inscription is written in Greek on a slab of marble 60 centimeters tall, 37.5 centimeters wide and 6 centimeters deep. It records the text of an edict issued by a Roman ruler identified only as Caesar. But where did it come from? The first thing that we know for sure is that it was in the possession of Wilhelm Fröner. Fröner was an enigmatic German-born collector who lived in Paris for over half a century. Fröner acquired the marble in 1878 in Paris and kept it hidden in his private collection until his death. His notes indicate that it was sent from Nazareth, and that is basically everything we know about its origin. Today, the artifact is held in the collection of the National Library of France and displayed in the Département des Monnaies, where visitors can see it. For over 50 years after the discovery of the Nazareth inscription, it was not known to the world. Only in 1930, the first translation of the inscription became available. It immediately caused a stir in the world of archaeologists and Bible scholars. This is what the Nazareth inscription says, in a new translation by Dr. Clyde Billington. Edict of Caesar. It is my decision concerning graves and tombs, whoever has made them for the religious observances of parents or children or household members, that these remain undisturbed forever. But if anyone legally charges that another person has destroyed or has in any manner extracted those who have been buried, or has moved with wicked intent those who have been buried to other places, committing a crime against them, or has moved sepulchral sealing stones, against such a person I order that a judicial tribunal be created, just as is done concerning the gods and human religious observances. Even more so will it be obligatory to treat with honor those who have been entombed. You are absolutely not to allow anyone to move those who have been entombed. But if someone does, I wish that violator to suffer capital punishment under the title of tomb breaker. The relevance to students of the Bible is immediately clear. This is an inscription linked to Nazareth, the village in Galilee Jesus lived. Christians were even called Nazarenes, followers of the man from Nazareth. So the Romans put up a notice in the town of Nazareth, and it is a warning against the stealing of bodies from tombs, which jives well with the order the Jewish leaders gave to the Roman soldiers guarding Jesus' grave, as encountered in the Gospel of Matthew chapter 28. Tell people his disciples came by night and stole him away while we were asleep. The Nazareth inscription seems to be clear evidence that soon after Jesus' death, the story that his body was stolen from the grave was circulating. But as the finding place of the slab with the inscription was not noted in Wilhelm Fröner's documents, the evidence is not conclusive. Soon, scholars came with competing theories that discounted the link with Jesus' death and resurrection. The first problem raised is that the inscription might not be from the years immediately after Jesus' death. There are varying opinions among scholars regarding the date of the Nazareth inscription. Some scholars argue that the Nazareth inscription was issued early in the 1st century AD, possibly during the reign of the Emperor Augustus. They suggest that the edict was part of a wider campaign to maintain law and order in the empire, which was characterized by political instability and social unrest. Some experts have noted that the Greek writing style of the Nazareth inscription is similar to other imperial edicts from the time of Augustus. They argue that the language and phrasing of the inscription are consistent with the style of official documents from this period. Others argue for a date during the mid-1st century AD, during the reign of the Emperor Claudius. This would be consistent with the link to Jesus' resurrection. But there are also some experts who argue that the Nazareth inscription was issued in the 2nd century AD, during the reign of the Emperor Hadrian. They suggest that the edict was specifically targeted at the Jewish population who were engaged in a series of rebellions against Roman rule. A second objection raised against tying the inscription to the early history of the Christian Church is that there is no strong evidence that the slab actually is from Nazareth. It might have been shipped from Nazareth to Fröner, but originating from somewhere else. Or sellers might have duped him to believe it came from Nazareth to make the find more interesting. The third objection is based on a recent scholarly publication in 2020, proving that the marble slab of the inscription came from the island of Kos in the Mediterranean. Interestingly, there is a story about Nicias, a tyrant from Kos, whose body was taken from his tomb. A Greek poet wrote about him, "He had gone to rest in Hades, and now his dead body has come again into the light of day. For his fellow citizens, forcing the bolts of his tomb, dragged out the poor hard-dying wretch to punishment." The authors of the article in the Journal of Archaeological Science argue the inscription most likely is about this Nicias. However, when all arguments are taken into account, the case for the Nazareth inscription to be caused by the stories going around in Israel about the death and resurrection of Jesus Christ is still very strong. Dr. Clyde Billington, a professor and archaeologist, gives the following arguments. 1. The Nazareth inscription only makes sense in Israel in a limited time window. 3 burial customs are clear from the inscription. The first one is that it is about burial of bodies, not cremation. The second one is that there are family graves. And the third one is that there are stones sealing the tombs. The combination of these 3 is only happening in Israel and only in the period 100 BC until the destruction of Jerusalem in 70 AD. Even looking at what is said about the tomb of Nicias, it is clear that he is buried alone and that his tomb had bolts rather than a stone closing it. The inscription must be from Israel, roughly from Jesus' time. That a marble is not from Israel is trivial. Marble was never mined in Israel, and imperial edicts were always inscribed on marble. So any imperial inscription found in Israel will always be on imported marble. 2. The inscription says that the moving of dead bodies to other places was being done with wicked intent. In other words, bodies were being moved to perpetrate some sort of a fraud. This gives strong support to the conclusion that the Nazareth inscription was written in response to the story of the resurrection of Christ, which many Jews and pagan Romans believed was a fraud perpetrated by Christian Jews who had removed the body of Jesus from his tomb. 3. 2 times, the inscription says that dead bodies were not to be removed from tombs. The repeated warning against removing bodies from tombs suggests that this was the primary motivation for the edict's issuance, and it also strongly suggests that the edict was drafted as an imperial response to the account of Christ's resurrection. 4. Additionally, it should be remembered that just the movement of bodies is mentioned in the Nazareth inscription. No claims are made that tombs or bodies were being looted for treasures. Why would a rational person prefer to steal a body over robbing it? This is another indication that this edict is in response to a very specific happening, namely the disappearance of Jesus' body from his grave. 5. There is strong evidence the inscription is from the time of Emperor Claudius. It is titled Edict of Caesar. This shows Caesar has become a title already and not just a name. This hadn't happened yet during the time of Augustus, so it dates from after his reign. On the other hand, when the edict says, "I wish that violator to suffer capital punishment under the title of tomb-breaker," title is a legal Latin term loosely translated by a Greek word. Towards the end of the 1st century AD, a fixed Greek term came into use to translate this. This is clear proof that the Nazareth inscription is from the 1st century. Additionally, the Jewish historian Josephus gives another example of an edict of Claudius that provides an amazing parallel to the Nazareth inscription. Claudius orders to have this my edict engraved on a stone tablet and posted outdoors for not less than 30 days in a public place where it can be easily read from paved ground. The words and the style of the inscription also are a very good fit to other edicts by Claudius. Emperor Claudius reigned from AD 41 to AD 54. It is possible to get even closer to the actual date of the Nazareth inscription than that. King Herod Agrippa had grown up as a childhood friend of Claudius and had played an important role in securing the throne for him in Rome. A thankful Claudius rewarded Herod Agrippa by making him king over all provinces of Israel immediately after coming to power in AD 41. Herod proceeded to kill the Apostle James and imprison Peter. But in AD 44, Herod already died, as described in the Bible in Acts 12. It seems very likely that Claudius issued his local edict against taking bodies from graves after being asked a question by his friend Herod Agrippa. This only makes sense against the background of a growing Christian church. The Nazareth inscription is strong evidence of what happened in Israel between 30 and 40 AD. Stories were told about Jesus from Nazareth, whose grave was found empty. The only remaining question, now as well as then, is: was his body stolen, or did he rise from the dead?